Morbid Facts, Part 324. As part of a grim psychology experiment starting in 1961, triplets Edward Gallen, David Kelman, and Robert Shafran were separated at birth. They were placed with adoptive families who were lower class, middle class, and upper middle class, none of whom were aware of the other siblings or any part of the experiment. According to their adoptive parents, as babies, all three of them would bang their heads against the bars of their cribs in distress. This was likely the result of severe separation anxiety, which continued on as the boys got older. By the time they were college age, David and Edward had been in and out of psych wards, while Robert was on probation after his connection to a 1978 murder. A few years later, they were reunited through happenstance but never fully recovered from their mental health issues, as Eddie tragically took his life at the age of 33 after a lifelong battle with depression. Morbid Facts, Part 321. Last January, California man Dharmesh Patel was charged with attempting to murder his family by driving their Tesla off a cliff. But the entire family ended up surviving the 250-foot fall due to the near-perfect safety rating of Tesla cars. 26-year-old Bella Kilmartin has a rare condition that sends her body to sleep when she experiences strong emotions. She once almost drowned in a pool after laughing at a joke caused her to pass out. The euthanasia coaster is a concept for a steel roller coaster designed to kill its passengers. It was created by Lithuanian artist Julijonas Urbanas, who says the goal of his concept is to take lives with elegance and euphoria. The 7 loops put the body under so much stress that the brain is starved of oxygen, since the heart will struggle to pump blood against the tremendous G-force. It's meant to be a fun way to die. Morbid Facts, Part 322. Florida puppeteer Ronald Brown was the host of a kids' TV show in the 1980s called Joy Junction on the Christian Network. But he was later found to be a child predator who had tons of CP and often fantasized in online chat rooms about kidnapping, torturing, murdering, and cannibalizing children. He was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison in 2012. A UK woman who was taking a nap with her mouth open ended up in the hospital for 3 days after her daughter's dog dropped a deuce in her mouth. This is what a rabies patient looks like when they've already developed symptoms. Rabies causes hydrophobia, where attempting to drink or even just looking at water causes intense clenching throat spasms. This is why rabid animals are often seen foaming at the mouth. Sadly, once a patient reaches this point, there's a 99.9% chance that they will die. Morbid Facts, Part 319. Former face of Subway Jared Fogle became famous after attributing his 275-pound weight loss to eating nothing but Subway for a year straight. But in 2015, the FBI completed a 4-year-long surveillance operation to bring him down for owning excessive amounts of CP. They began investigating after Fogle made some disturbing comments about children to a female reporter, who started recording her conversations with him and passing them on to the FBI. In many of these conversations, he bragged about molesting children and even asked her if he could put cameras in her kids' bedrooms.
What if they put a camera in your kid's room? Would you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Would you rather have it your son or your daughter?
Fogle was sentenced to 15 years after pleading guilty to his heinous crimes involving children and owning more than 5 terabytes of CP. Morbid Facts, Part 320. Actor Joaquin Phoenix grew up in a cult called Children of God, which reportedly praised pedophilia. His parents even traveled to Venezuela to recruit followers, but have claimed they were unaware of any child predation. The family changed their last name to Phoenix to symbolize their new life after leaving the cult. Due to the skin's elasticity, it would take 3 full rotations to completely remove the human head. Don't ask how I know that. For the average adult, there are about 10 pounds of organisms living in and on you that are exclusively not you. There was a form of medieval torture where the victim's feet were covered in salt and a goat would start licking them. Known as tickle torture, it would become extremely painful once the skin was worn away by the rough tongue of the goat, creating a wound with salt slowly trickling in. Morbid Facts, Part 325. Actress Lisa Robin Kelly, who played Eric's sister on That 70s Show, had a major drinking and drug problem. She was soon replaced on the show and ended up dying of an overdose while in rehab. In 2012, a Missouri family sued the previous owners of the house they purchased after brown recluse spiders started bleeding from the walls. An expert estimated that the house was infested by at least 5,000 of the venomous spiders. In 2020, a Florida man was arrested for allegedly sticking his hand in peanut butter and punching his neighbor who was allergic to nuts. Just last Friday, Idaho Governor Brad Little signed a bill that would allow firing squads to execute death row inmates when lethal injection drugs are unavailable. This is because it's becoming increasingly difficult to obtain these drugs since pharmaceutical companies don't want their products to be associated with killing people. Right. In honor of opening day, here are some morbid facts about baseball. In the history of the MLB, there have only been 3 players with the first name Aurelio. Amazingly but tragically, they all died the same way, by car accident. Many historians consider Brooklyn player Jim Creighton to be the first superstar of baseball, but he died suddenly in 1862 after swinging so hard on a home run ball that he ruptured his bladder. During the 1910s, there was an American baseball team completely consisting of death row prisoners. As long as they kept winning, their executions were delayed. In 1957, a woman attending a Phillies game was hit with a foul ball that broke her nose. The game was briefly paused and then resumed once the woman was put on a stretcher. As they carried her away, the very next pitch was fouled off and hit the exact same woman, breaking a bone in her knee. Morbid Facts, Part 234. American singer John Denver died in 1997 when the plane he was piloting suddenly crashed. An investigation later revealed that he wasn't experienced with the plane he was flying, and for some reason the fuel gauge was located behind the pilot, so Denver couldn't see that it was low on fuel. As a result, the plane eventually ran out of gas and dove straight into the ocean. Alien hand syndrome is a rare neurological disorder in which one hand functions involuntarily with the person completely unaware of its actions. People affected by it have been known to randomly throw objects, slap themselves in the face, and even attempt to strangle themselves, having to use the controllable hand to restrain the alien hand. There's no known cure for this mysterious syndrome. A 12-year-old boy from Uttar Pradesh watched his own father get brutally murdered by a family friend in 2003. 12 years later, the boy murdered his father's killer in a revenge attack that he had planned since the day his father was killed. He then cut the killer into 12 pieces, one for each year he had to wait. Morbid Facts, Part 229. Morgan Freeman has an oddly dark reason for always wearing his gold hoop earrings. He says it's because they're worth just enough to pay for a coffin if he happens to die in a strange place. The most toxic natural substance on Earth is botulinum toxin, aka Botox. A couple pounds is all you would need to kill every single human being on the planet. The African country of Ghana has 6 witch camps, housing about 1,000 women in total. The camps are for women accused of witchcraft to have a safe place to live without fear of being lynched by their neighbors. Most of the women simply suffer from mental illness, a poorly understood concept in Ghana. Sam White, a Civil War artifact collector from Virginia, was killed in 2008 when a 140-year-old highly explosive cannonball exploded in his driveway while he was restoring it. The blast was powerful enough to send chunks of shrapnel up to a quarter-mile away. White is now considered by some historians to be the last confirmed casualty of the American Civil War.